So who wants to go first?
And then you work with some books.
What's that?
Is that the first time that you did that kind of job for this?
For cover illustrations? No, actually, I'm also an author. So I design and illustrate the covers for my own books, and I was also an editor, and I did covers for the books that I edited. So I'm kind of like I just do a lot of different things whenever people need me to do them.
I know, that's great.
And it was because of the covers that I did previously that I was asked to give this a shot.
So how do you transition from the great covers that were before, the iconic covers that a lot of people grew up with and really came to love the books for? How do you take that, keep that iconic, I can't say the word, that icon...
The iconography.
Iconography, thank you. My brain's gone. How do you keep that iconography but keep making it your own?
You know, well, I'm fortunate that I get to work on Harry Potter because Harry Potter is so iconic in all of our minds.
Right.
I feel like no matter what people did to define it visually, we always had a certain idea of what it was. And so I had that too in my brain, what Harry feels like, you know, the world of Hogwarts and everything felt like to me in my brain was pretty clear, despite the movies and despite the books. So I wasn't really informed by those things. I was really informed by the text when I initially read the books. So in that regard, it wasn't that difficult to like get in there, and it's such a good world to do, you know, to work with, that it wasn't difficult at all, you know. And I really just tried to not think about the precedents that were set, whether they be the movies or the books. I have a lot of my own readers who are younger, and they're still just below the reading age of Harry Potter. The ones that read my books learn to read. They're graphic novels, you know, and they're made for middle grade. And I'd say this is like late middle grade, almost young, like just young adult, like teen. It's a teen reader book. So I knew it was easier for me to understand who my audience was because my audience is the one that I was already working with, and I decided to illustrate these book covers for the audience that reads my books. And then by doing that, I was already engaged that way. I understood the audience better than probably anybody else because I was already there with them. You know, and when I went to the schools, they really hadn't read Harry Potter before. All the teachers did, the parents did, but the kids were still not at the reading level yet. But they had all known what my book was, Amulet. They were familiar with Amulet, and it stunned me when I went to a place and I asked them. Okay, yeah, and I was stunned. Like it was a crazy moment for me to be in a school, and I was talking in front of all these kids, and I know they knew I was coming, so a lot of them prepared by reading my book. But when I asked them, like, because the teachers were like, he's gonna do the Harry Potter covers, you know, and I asked them like, so how many of you read or know about Harry Potter? You know, have you read Harry Potter? And very few kids raised their hands. And I was like, oh, so who read Amulet? And they're like all raising their hands. And I just thought, wow, that's like, you know, and the older folks in the room were kind of like stunned with me. And we were just like, oh, right. It's a different generation. We didn't realize that it had been this long, 15 years. You know?
Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah, it's like that's a generation.
And it's a blink of an eye, honestly.
Yeah.
It really is. And behind us we have a very cool wall. You're allowing people to write what Harry Potter means to them. What's Harry Potter mean to you?
I actually wrote it down right here.
Did you?
Yeah, so that's my little essay right there. And I have a pretty personal story when it comes to Harry. I feel like he saved my life. So I sort of owed it to him and to J.K. Rowling to do this in some ways. I kind of felt like Hagrid with the motorcycle, and I had the little basket. And I was like, I gotta take this. I gotta get him to safety.
That's great.
And it was because when I came to the books, I was in corporate graphic design, so far away from what I do now. I was at the time supporting my parents, and I just was totally depressed. I basically said goodbye to my own career goals and my dreams and everything, just to pay the bills to support so many people when I was only 20 years old, you know, 21. I was just getting old very fast, you know. And I was just stuck in traffic in Los Angeles for an hour and a half every morning, and that's how I read the books, because I didn't have time to read because I was working all the time. So I just listened to Jim Dale's audiobooks on my commute to work. And while I listened to it, I realized, wow, like this is really neat. Somebody in this time, right now, is creating something that I would consider classic. And it's been so long since I've read anything like that, at like a Roald Dahl level quality. You know,
something that just timeless.
Yeah, it just felt like this is going to be here with us for a long time. It's like, that's really inspiring. It was inspiring to me, and I heard her story, and it was really inspiring to me. And in a lot of ways, it kind of inspired me to go back into working on my own books again. And so, and then lo and behold, years later, the creative director at Scholastic, David Saylor, who designed the logo and hired me to do all of this, he's the one who brought my book to Scholastic and gave me a career. Which I am still doing. Yeah, it's a New York Times bestseller. It does well on its own. So like I was already like, you know, in a different world at Scholastic, and I was kind of pulled into the Harry Potter group, which was like I was like kind of the next generation down. They were the generation just before me, and they kind of pulled me up to help them for a little while on this, and I got to be part of that family, and that whole experience of being like start crying. It's just like it was so emotional. It was an amazing thing to be with them, and to just be able to, in some ways, to pay back Scholastic for what they've done for me. That's Harry and J.K. Rowling and everybody saved my life. I feel like I could do this, and then I'll bring that to books.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.